YouTube, the Sacramento Kings have had a very busy summer and active offseason in 2024. In this video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the Sacramento Kings, every offseason move they've made, as well as, like I said, a deep dive on their entire roster for the 2025 season and why I think the Sacramento Kings will be lighting the beam quite frequently in the 2025 NBA season and will become an NBA playoff contender next season like they were in 2023, making that second seed in the playoffs. In my opinion, the Kings have improved quite a bit, acquiring, I don't know, DeMar DeRozan, all-star caliber and all-NBA caliber mid-range magician via trade this offseason to boost their scoring production. I'm going to talk about everything to do with the Sacramento Kings during the offseason and for the 2025 upcoming season, what you can expect from this roster and team moving forward in this video. Let's get right into it, Sacramento. Before I get into it, I just want to mention, Kings fans, if you guys are watching this video right now, let me know down in the comments section, how excited are you for the 2025 season? I would imagine you're pretty excited. I hope I can do your team some justice in this video. Let's talk about all of the offseason moves to start this deep dive that the Sacramento Kings have made in 2024. We're going to start with the re-signings. Now, you've made two re-signings, one of them being a massive one, and we're going to start with the big one, and that is Malik Monk re-signing on a 4-year deal with the Sacramento Kings worth up to $78 million, and this is an absolute W from the Kings. Round of applause. Malik Monk is one of the better combo guards in the league as far as a role player goes. I mean, not only the shooting ability, the offensive ability, he's a good athlete, he gets to the rim well, fits what the Sacramento Kings do immeasurably well, and this is a guy that's part of your core. I mean, not only that, he's still pretty young and, you know, can provide solid value on both ends, shooting, scoring, playmaking. He really has upped his playmaking responsibilities and has done it very successfully, I might add, and, you know, was a candidate for 6th man of the year for most of the season last year, you know, and he is a big part of what the Kings like to do. So, you know, big, massive W for the Kings to re-sign a part of your core. We're going to talk about the roster later and he will be a part of it, but just love that move from the Kings, locking down, you know, one of your best players for a 4-year deal. You also re-sign Alex Len to a 1-year deal, and I think this is a good move, you know, bringing back Alex Len for that center depth. He's been with the Sacramento Kings for a little while now, a couple of years, and, you know, center is something that, you know, the Kings have basically, I guess, had to, you know, deal with the last few years, in particular with Sabonis being your power forward and probably, you know, maybe your best player. I think it's a 1A, 1B type scenario. Again, we'll get into the roster in a little bit, but Alex Len, bringing him back for some depth, potentially as your backup 5, I think is a really good deal as well. Now, as far as the additions, and there are a lot of them, so let's talk about the biggest one, and that is DeMar DeRozan, you know, being traded from the Chicago Bulls to the Sacramento Kings in that massive deal that sent Harrison Barnes from the Kings to the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan from the Bulls to the Kings. The Bulls received Chris Duarte from the Kings and 2 second-round picks. This is a great deal for all teams in, you know, in this trade, and I think the Kings win big time. A lot of people are grading this trade negatively. I don't see that as something you could realistically do, considering they honestly didn't give up a whole lot other than Harrison Barnes, and honestly, you know, it's basically similar type of players, Harrison Barnes and DeMar DeRozan, and it is a massive upgrade from Harrison Barnes to DeMar DeRozan. We will talk about the fit in a little bit when I do the roster deep dive, but this is a massive boost to your star power and offensive scoring production. This is another guy that can come in like De'Aaron Fox and, you know, create off the dribble for himself, for others, but primarily for himself. You know, when you need a bucket late game, he is one of the most clutch players and performers in this league, and, you know, I'm just happy to see him on another contending team once again. You know, in Chicago, it was pretty mediocre there, so, you know, I'm just happy to see DeMar DeRozan, a guy who I've liked in the league for a long time, one of the best shooting guards of, you know, maybe the last decade or so, getting another chance to contend for a title. And, you know, Kings fans, let me know down in the comment section how excited you are for DeMar to be in Sacramento. He also signs a 3-year extension worth $74 million. So, you know, he is going to be in Sacramento for at least 3 more years. So, you know, this is a absolute W for the Kings. You also make another trade, maybe a little bit less headline worthy, but still 100%, you know, impactful for this team. And that is you send away Davion Mitchell, Sasha Vasenkov, and the draft rights to Jamal Sheed and a 2025 second-round pick for Jalen McDaniels from the Toronto Raptors. And Jalen McDaniels, being a Sixers fan myself, he played about a half a season here, and I can say this is a good athletic wing with defensive capabilities. He's also a good finisher, as I mentioned, the athleticism, but, you know, he can really get up off the floor pretty well and finish lobs and stuff like that. You know, he isn't the best shooter, I will say, but, you know, I think, you know, he is serviceable for a depth piece from the wing, primarily defensively and athletically. You know, this team, the Sacramento Kings, have really, I guess, lacked a little bit of athleticism, not just from the wing, but for a roster as a whole. So anytime you bring in a long defensive athletic guy who can provide solid value defensively, I think is a great move for the Sacramento Kings, and honestly a good trade because Davion Mitchell, while he is a good defender and a good athlete himself, you really kind of replace him, and we'll get into that, but you also give Jordan McLaughlin a 1-year deal, and Jordan McLaughlin being a backup point guard, potentially, or maybe a third string point guard, but you get him on a 1-year deal. Pretty good value, I'd say, considering that your draft pick is going to be out 6 months, who again, I'm struggling to not talk about the roster, but Devin Carter is having shoulder surgery, so maybe you see Jordan McLaughlin slide into what Devin Carter's role was going to be at the backup point guard to fill in for that time. Just good veteran presence who can shoot pretty well, good defender, playmaker, stuff like that. So kind of fits the bill there. And Orlando Robinson, the center, signs a 1-year deal previously on Miami. I think has a little bit of upside for another depth piece from the front court. So as far as the additions, you make a ton of noise there, and some really good ones, I'd say. Departures, you have a lot of those, and the biggest one obviously being Harrison Barnes, who was a really great Sacramento King. I think his time there was pretty well spent and provided a lot of leadership and just good play for that wing position and scoring forward, but again, you kind of upgrade on him if you're the Sacramento Kings with DeMar DeRozan. They're similar players. I think Harrison Barnes might work a little bit better off the ball, but I just think in general, this is a guy that put in a good time here, and at the end of the day, you upgrade on him, so you can't really be too upset about losing him at this point, especially with the contract he had. He will help the Spurs, but you end up getting good value for Harrison Barnes in the DeMar DeRozan trade. Also, Chris Duarte in that DeMar DeRozan trade, he'll be going to the Bulls. Kind of rotation guard. He's a pretty good scorer as well, but maybe just wasn't in the long-term plans, or maybe you just had to throw him in to get better value for the DeMar DeRozan trade. Davion Mitchell departs via trade with the Raptors. Another solid move. I like Davion Mitchell. I think he's a really good defender with good potential, but at the end of the day, man, this is business. We got to keep it moving. And Sasha Vasenkov, a shooter forward, departs via trade as well in that Raptors trade. Again, two guys that maybe not you see in your long-term plans. Those are the offseason moves, and we'll talk about the draft right now. Overall, I think you got to give it a high mark. I'd probably give it an A- or an A, just for addressing the biggest need on this team, which was, for me personally, probably some star power offensively. And you get maybe one of the best guys on the market who is available for trade. And you also land Jalen McDaniels to solidify some athleticism and defensive versatility and guard multiple positions in that front court or on the wing. Just amazing moves for the Sacramento Kings. As far as the draft, Devin Carter, you select Devin Carter 13th overall, who is a 6'2", 195 guard from Providence at 22 years of age. Unfortunately, he has a shoulder surgery that will keep him out for 6 months, but this is a really good pick at 13. Devin Carter is supposedly one of the best defensive guards in the draft, maybe the best. And think about him as like maybe what Davion Mitchell was supposed to be, right? An on-ball pest of a guard who can rebound and has a high motor and competitive spirit to him. This is a great pick. Despite the shoulder surgery, this guy could be in your core for years to come. Surrounding De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis with athletic defenders who compete hard is probably the best thing you could do, and Devin Carter is no exception. He's probably the best of the bunch in this draft in that regard. 6'2", 195, not anything crazy big, right? But I could see a world where you put him, as the backup point guard for De'Aaron Fox, and he comes in and locks up the opposing, ball handler. And as I mentioned, the rebounding is off the charts for this guy. And, not even that. He has some offensive upside as well. He has improved quite a bit as a jump shooter throughout his time in Providence, and he ended up averaging close to 20 points a game. And, that is incredible for, the upside for the offense, right? The problem with Davion Mitchell, while he was a, pest defender, and that's what he was really supposed to be when you took him in the draft, his offensive game, I think, was just a little inconsistent and left a little bit to be desired, kept him off the floor quite a bit. And I think bringing Devin Carter, who can actually shoot and, rebound at a high level, he does a lot of things well from that guard position. He can play make exceptionally as well. This is just a more well-rounded version of what you want that role to be for a Davion Mitchell type player. You could even play him on the floor with De'Aaron Fox, I would imagine, and I think that'll happen quite a bit. So I just love the pick. I really, really do. And despite the 6-month surgery period where you could end up seeing a scenario where he's back for the playoffs, and the Sacramento Kings are certainly going to be in the mix for the playoffs. We'll talk about that later, but this is a great draft pick. 13th overall, this late lottery pick that even him being out 6 months, I think is still exceptional value. Kings fans, again, let me know down in the comment section, what do you think of Carter, and what do you think, how excited are you to see him play for your team? Now, with all that out of the way, this is a W offseason, W draft for the Kings. Let's get into their roster and what we can expect. How many beams are going to be lit this season, folks? I think personally, it's going to be over 50. I don't know, maybe 50 beams could be a realistic goal for this team. team. Let's get into this roster in the midst of a stacked Western Conference, but you improved quite a bit. Let's deep dive on the Sacramento Kings roster, folks. So we got to start with the two guys, and the first one being your point guard extraordinaire, all NBA point guard De'Aaron Fox. And the Kings are a small market team, and it's unfortunate that De'Aaron Fox doesn't get the recognition he deserves. He is about a top 10 point guard in this league. There's so many great point guards, but he is certainly an all NBA caliber guy, has made an all NBA team recently. De'Aaron Fox is just so consistently great year in and year out. This is maybe the fastest player with the ball in his hands in the league. He is an exceptional scorer, and last year in particular, he improved dramatically from three-point range last season, and that doesn't get talked about enough. This is a guy early in his career who had some three-point limitations and concerns. He's a great athlete, he's a good playmaker, he's a good scorer, he gets to the rim well, mid-range, all that stuff, but can he space the floor? Can he be that guy? There's a lot of great athletic point guards that end up falling short in that three-point category. A lot of people thought De'Aaron Fox would be one of them. Last season, he shuts everybody up in that regard. De'Aaron Fox, let me just tell you, 37% from three on 8 attempts per game, a lot of them being off the dribble. These are difficult shots, and the Kings, he is the engine that drives this team. He is a 1A, 1B with another guy we're going to talk about in a second, but De'Aaron Fox doesn't get the love and recognition he deserves. Last season, leading the Kings to a 46-win record. They go 10 games above 500, end up making the play-in tournament. He averaged 27 points a game in 74 games played. About 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He is such an underrated playmaker. He is a great passer, and he is a great basketball IQ. I don't think that gets enough, recognition. Great playmaker for this team throughout his career. The assist numbers aren't going to be 10. They're not going to be 8. They're not going to be 9, right? You're not going to get a double-double machine as far as points and assists. That's what, a lot of fans who don't know much about the league or watch a lot of the games would think is a great playmaker. Not true. I liken it to Steph Curry's playmaking ability, where Steph Curry's never going to average 10 assists per game because the system they run in Golden State doesn't allow for that. You get not as many opportunities. You are not the heliocentric focal point if you're De'Aaron Fox, but when you do have the ball in your hand, you consistently make great passes and make smart plays with the basketball and setting up your teammates. De'Aaron Fox is unreal in that regard, and despite the 6 assists per game, people might see that and say, oh, that's pretty average for a great point guard, right? No, that does not do it justice. He plays in a system that he doesn't have the ball in his hands 24/7 like a Luka Doncic, like a James Harden, but his production playmaking wise is incredible, and if you watch the games, man, some of the passes he makes are next level. He is a special playmaker, underrated for sure, but the three-point shooting in particular, if that continues, that is dangerous for opposing teams to play against in the Western Conference next season. I think De'Aaron Fox needs more love and recognition by the mainstream media. That's why I'm attempting to give it to him in this video. Love De'Aaron Fox. He is the engine of this team. Domantas Sabonis having the best year, in my opinion, of his career last season, and that's saying something because this guy is a special offensive talent. People have a lot of criticisms for his defense. People have a lot of criticisms. They say, oh, well, if he could shoot a 3 consistently and space the floor as that power forward, then that would open a lot of things up for this team. That is somewhat true, but they don't really talk about how all-time great he is in certain aspects. One being the rebounding and consistency in terms of the double-doubles last season. Another being the playmaking. One of the best post passers we've ever seen. He is, as good as it gets, I think, as far as the post passing and, big man playmaking. He is a ball handler at times as well. He can dribble, take it up the floor in transition, and make a play with his head up. That is so unbelievably rare for a player of his size. He has very soft hands, can finish beautifully. He's not going to be a 25 point per game scorer. That's just not who he is. But, he certainly is elite as far as the league goes in those things I just mentioned. The rebounding, the consistency, the playmaking, and the transition. Just a special offensive talent. Last season, playing 82 games, Mr. Reliable. About 20 points per game, 19 points per game, 14 rebounds a game if you round up, 8 assists. I mean, these are like, Jokic light numbers. And to be honest, he did shoot the 3 well last year. He just doesn't take a whole lot of them, but he can shoot it well. He shot 38% on about an attempt per game. Maybe with this new offense, with DeMar DeRozan being included, you'd like to see that number go up a little bit more than 1. But, how can you criticize this guy for all that stuff when he is an all-NBA player last season and he's just a great offensive talent, and he is really the hub of this offense. The ball usually goes through him at some point during a half-court set, and it's, that's warranted. Mike Brown knows what he's got in Sabonis, and if he's not making plays for himself, he's going to do it for others at an elite level from the big man spot. Just a rare talent. This is clearly either your best player or your second best player. I kind of think it's a 1A, 1B with Fox. They just have great chemistry as well. So, Sabonis, just, can we stop hating on this guy? Like, can we just appreciate his greatness and consistency, from not only last year, but just his unique skill set in general. Also, I didn't mention a great screen setter and roll man, maybe the best in the league. As a roll man, he is just so gifted. Not only if he gets the roll at a little pass like the elbow, or let's say if it's a top of the key pick and roll action, he could get it around the free throw line and then make that next pass to the dunker spot beautifully, better than anyone. And then also being able to finish and have that little floater from the mid-range. He's just so gifted. DeMar DeRozan, we talked about how you bring him in if you're Sacramento and boost that offensive scoring. And this is the biggest issue I think with Sacramento in the West last season. You need that secondary shot creator who can just absolutely take over a game when needed. And DeMar DeRozan is that guy to a T. There are, people saying Warrior style offense with Mike Brown that he likes to run. How is DeMar DeRozan going to be fitting into that style of system with his, on ball prominence and, lack of 3-point shooting? There are plenty of ways to get a great player and a player as great as DeMar DeRozan involved in any system. And I have full confidence in Mike Brown to be able to do that. The fit will be intriguing. I'd like to see how they come out and start the season, how it looks. I'm sure with all these great players and great coaching staff, you figure out how to get it done. And that is no question in my mind. They're going to figure out how to use DeMar DeRozan perfectly. But again, this is the biggest weakness with this team last season. Just the lack of star power offensively, other than De'Aaron Fox. Again, we talk about how Sabonis, his scoring isn't his best trait, and it is a good trait, but it's not his best. And whether or not he could be a successful, number 2 option scoring wise has, I guess, yet to be seen. He's still a good scorer, but you needed really a shot creator that was capable of closing games other than Fox. He can't do it all alone. Every great scorer and great player needs another guy to help him with that. And DeMar DeRozan, again, maybe the best on the market in that regard, that was still available at the time you got him. I mean, this is one of the most clutch players in the league. Expect him to finish a lot of games for Sacramento. Not only that, but De'Aaron Fox, clutch player of the year a few years ago, hitting so many game winners and big buckets. You have 2 of the most clutch on-ball creators in the league. They're going to be in the same lineup in the fourth quarter. If they can keep games close, man, this is going to be a tough team to stop. Now you won't be able to double Fox, and you won't be able to double Sabonis or DeRozan all at once. You just can't do that. So someone's getting a one-on-one look, and it's probably going to be Fox and DeRozan most of the time. But hey, if you need a lifeline, Sabonis is down there in the paint making things happen. So this is just a great fit. It's going to be so scary in those fourth quarters. I'm telling you, if you could keep a game close, man, you got 2 of the biggest, most clutch shot creators in the league. And I have full confidence with DeMar DeRozan's great scoring ability and, all-time great mid-range capabilities and, ball handling, one-on-one, just absolutely dominant, scoring one-on-one ISO capabilities. Mike Brown will figure it out. When you have great players, they're smart players, great coaching staff, they'll figure it out, man. Just give it time, Those are the big 3. That's going to be your big 3, but that's not to say that there aren't still amazing players on this team capable of great things. And probably the most intriguing of the bunch this season is going to be Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray has had a great young career so far for the Sacramento Kings. Last season, he was picked 4th overall in 2022 by the Sacramento Kings and had a great rookie season. He played 80 games in his rookie season and shot the lights out. This is a premier shooter in this league who can space the floor next to a guy like Sabonis and DeRozan better than almost anyone at his size. He's 6'8", 225. He's a big guy, big kid, still only 23 years old, still could be getting better. This is a good offensive player as well. And as I mentioned, the shooting, I would liken it to like what Denver kind of does with Michael Porter Jr. He's a special type of shooter. I kind of see Keegan Murray fitting into a similar role. He's just always off the ball, ready to shoot over defenders. And with his size, he's able to do that at an elite level. Last season, he is a high volume 3-point shooter his first 2 years. And last season, his 3-point percentage taking a bit of a dip, but even at league average, 36% on 7 attempts per game. That is elite. No question. What his, ceiling is as a shot creator or playmaker, other than the shooting, I guess is yet to be seen. But, just the ability to be able to shoot like that off the ball, he's one of the better off-ball shooters you could possibly have from the, forward or wing, wherever you want to play him. I think he could play either the 3 or the 4. This is a special kid, and I think, next season he even gets better because of guys like DeRozan being in the lineup, being able to give him more space to go to work on the perimeter with that off-ball shooting. He's going to get a lot more open looks next season, no question about it, and he'll knock him down on an elite level. Let me tell you, we already talked about Malik Monk, how great he is for this team. If you want to start him, you could play him off the bench. I think he's probably best suited as that 6-man, come in the second unit and lead the offense and lead the charge in that regard. Great transition player. He's got a lot of on ball, putting it on the floor capabilities, get to the free throw line. He's just a special, type of six-man, a luxury that not a lot of teams will have. And, you talk about his career with Sacramento so far. He is an efficient player, good free throw shooter, and that's what I would imagine, him just being so aggressive. And last year really took a step up in that playmaking duty, and 5 assists a game on 2.1 turnovers, 15 points a game, 3 rebounds. This is a, special type of six-man player that I think, locking him up is such a big deal for this team. He has such a good role and fits this team perfectly. He can play on ball or off ball offensively, can guard a little bit on the defensive end. He gives a good competitive edge to a team, and I just love this player. I think he adds a ton. He's also a good athlete. Kevin Heurter is maybe the biggest X factor on this team. We talked about shooting from Keegan Murray. We talked about how DeMar DeRozan, and these guys are going to have to work off the ball a little bit. Kevin Heurter, another great off-ball player. I got to tell you, he can play on or off as well. Got a little bit of handle to him. Unfortunately, had a down year last year. In 2023, when they had that second seed in the playoffs, Kevin Heurter was a focal point of this team and primarily the offense. We talk about how they like to run split action like the Warriors do and pin down screens. And, Kevin Heurter flying off those pin downs, getting it, shooting it on the move at an elite level. In 2023, averaged 15 points a game. He's also a good playmaker. He can handle the ball a little bit. But, in 2023, like I said, it had one of the best shooting seasons of anyone, averaging 40% from the field on 7 attempts per game. This is an X factor because last year he had a little bit of a down year. He was kind of in and out of the lineup, had some nagging injuries throughout the season, only ended up playing 64 games, starting 59 of them. But if he can have a bounce back season, there is no ceiling to what the Kings can do. If he is that 2023 version of Heurter, and like we saw with the Hawks, this is your starting 2 guard. If you run Keegan Murray and Kevin Heurter in the same lineup alongside Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan, you don't even need those guys to shoot from the perimeter because Heurter and Murray are going to be running all over the floor and around the perimeter looking for, hunting for open shots. And they have great playmakers to be able to find them, like DeRozan, Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox. Those guys make the right plays. That is plenty of shooting. That is 2 elite off-ball snipers. So again, Kevin Heurter's production next season is going to be the X factor for this team. I expect it to increase because of his, lack of production last season. I would expect him to have a bounce back year, and that dramatically could impact the Kings ceiling next year. Imagine him and Keegan Murray on the same floor. That is how you solve the DeMar DeRozan lack of 3-point shooting issue, is putting Keegan Murray and Kevin Heurter, running around those pin down screens at split action at the same, on the same floor and lineup as DeMar DeRozan. So another notable guard, that I've talked about a lot on this channel, and someone I think is severely underrated for his play in the play-in tournament last season, and as well as towards the final stretch of the season. This guy is a big game performer. He has no fear, and I love his skill set as a rotation piece. That is Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis, one of the unsung heroes of the Kings last year. You look at his numbers, you think, oh, that's a role player, plays spot role player, 17 minutes per game. What's so special about that? This guy is an absolute defender. He's a defender, man. He's 6'3", 175. I think he's like more of a kind of a 2 guard, and he is an athlete as well, but his shooting ability is good. He shot 42% from 3 on 4 attempts per game last season. That is special for a role player that can defend. He's also a high motor competitor and defensive player. Imagine him and Devin Carter being able to be in the second unit with their defensive capabilities. This is going to be a great defensive backcourt. You see a lot of good teams bolstering their defensive backcourts like the Celtics did. We saw it with OKC, and the Timberwolves certainly have it. So a lot of these teams, and I think Sacramento doing it is a great call as well. But Keon Ellis, look for him. I know he's had kind of a lackluster summer league, but he's a young player, man. Look for him to be a big contributor in big moments next season as well, assuming he gets a similar role. I don't see why you wouldn't. Love this player and love his edge for the Kings. You still have Trey Lyles. This is a reliable role player. You can play him at the 4, at the backup power forward. I think he's a good spot player for Domantas Sabonis. He is a similar type of player. He's a good offensive basketball IQ guy who can fit into that role a little bit. He's a just a smart player. He knows how to play off the ball well. He's just the type of guy that fits this system well. Good screen setter, can finish at the rim. He's got good soft hands. Can shoot a little bit as well. Really a stretch forward type of player. Not so similar to Domantas Sabonis in that regard, but he does have a similar type of smart basketball IQ type of feel to him. And again, the shooting is incredible for him. 38% from 3 last season on 4 attempts per game. That is nothing new to Trey Lyles in his career. Good stretch 4 off the bench if you need it. And for the last player I wanted to mention, we've talked about a little bit about Jalen McDaniels, and his impact on this team could be really good. Again, a long defender who's a good athlete, and I think has a lot lot of ability to stay in front of ball handlers with that length, and he can really contest a lot of shots on closeouts. He's a quick guy for his size. He's 6'9", slight frame to him, but again, that quickness is huge. And I think playing off the ball, you could see him in a dunker spot. You could see him in transition getting a lot of opportunities. He's a really fast player and great athlete. I think he could play above the rim pretty well. We'll have to see what his three-point shooting looks like, but again, if he can stay somewhere around the league average, that is good value on the floor for the two-way versatility. He could hit a corner three every now and then. 35, 36, 37%. I think you got a W role player on your hands in that regard. I like him for the Kings quite a bit to boost their athleticism. Again, that's something I mentioned they need a little bit more of, and that's something they target this offseason. Get a little bit more versatile on the wing. There are players on this team that I will not be talking about. We can't talk about everyone, and those are the most notable in my opinion. Kings fans, let me know down in the comment section, how many beams are you lighting this season? I say around 50. I think it's going to be either 50 plus, maybe like 52 wins. This is a playoff team in my opinion. We'll have to see how they come out to start the season. Losing Devin Carter is a big loss for those 6 months, but you do have enough veteran leadership on this team to be able to get it done. I do worry a little bit about the center. Are you going to play Sabonis at center? Who's your backup center? You bringing Alex Len off the bench, or you potentially spotting Trey Lyles at center minutes? I don't know. It could be interesting. I think they could use a little bit more athleticism and rim protection from the center spot, but we'll just have to see. Their rebounding is off the charts. Their shot creation is as good as it gets now. They certainly have figured that out. Getting DeMar DeRozan, they have off-ball shooting. I think Kevin Heurter, his impact is going to be huge. Hopefully he has a bounce back season. If he does, this is a 50+ win team, and hopefully get Devin Carter back around playoff time. This is a guy that I think is ready to step in and compete right away in the NBA in a sizable role. So Sacramento, I expect a 6 seed, 5 seed type of season out of you guys. Could be even higher. We'll just have to see how that pairing works out with DeRozan. No question about it. At minimum, this is a play-in team once again, and I expect them to go at least 10 games over 500 like they did last season. I know the West is tough. I know there's a ton of competition, but this is a team that is ready now and has all of the tools in place and a great coach in Mike Brown to be able to get it done. And so you have good continuity there with your stars, and you really invested in bringing back good players. I don't know how you don't predict this team to be in the hunt for a playoff spot and really contend in the playoffs next season. Their offense is going to be off the charts, and as I mentioned, if you can keep games close with Sacramento, you have maybe the best closing two shot creators in the league in De'Aaron Fox, and fourth quarter guys in De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan. So if you could keep those games close, I'm sure they're going to be shootouts. The Sacramento Kings play fast-paced, offensive-minded game. But listen, man, I would not want to face the Kings in a 2-minute situation, down one, up one in the fourth quarter in a big game. They will put you away with these two guys, and they will certainly be making the right plays. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure, guys, if you're Sacramento Kings fans, let me know down in the comment section what you think of your team. What do you think of this video? Am I off on a couple of my takes? I talked about how every deep dive we do, there's just gonna be certain things as a fan of that particular team. Kings fans, you're gonna know about your team way more than I would, right? I'm a Sixers fan. I'll give you the example. I could tell you right now, everything that's going on with the Sixers in great detail because I follow them with a microscope. So I know you guys do too with your team. As an outsider, covering your team, hopefully I did okay. But if there are those things that I missed or maybe mischaracterized, let me know down in the comment section. I'm always looking to grow and learn as a creator. My favorite part about making these deep dives is engaging directly with the particular fan base of the team I'm covering. They're generally, I just love talking to these fan bases because that is how I learn a lot about certain things. Sometimes I go into the video, I think one thing about a team and a certain player, and I'm like, oh, if I was a fan of this team, I would love this player. I make the video on the team, and generally the fan base is like, no, we hate this guy, we want to trade him. So that kind of stuff is always so interesting to me, getting the perspective of a Kings fan during a Kings video. I love the energy the Kings are bringing to Sacramento, and I'm just so happy that they're having winning seasons again. You guys are probably so happy for your team just to be able to go to those games and be like, we don't have to watch 20-win seasons anymore, at least for now. And that's just a great feeling. I can remember when the Sixers got out of the process, and it felt like that for me. So that's just a great, exciting time. And you guys have a really great ceiling. You have a really great roster, great coach, great everything in place. So love your arena as well. I love how they light the beam. It's my one of my favorite things in the league as a NBA fan. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Kings fans, let me know everything you think down in the comment section. I love your team, and I love your fan base. Sick jerseys, by the way, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day today. Make sure you guys drop a like on the video. It helps out the video quite a bit, helps new people find the video. So if you guys want to share it, if you did enjoy it, make sure you guys like it. I think we could get quite a bit of likes on this video. You guys seem to really enjoy the deep dives, and I love making them. So we're trying to cover every team in the NBA by the the end of the offseason. So we've already done quite a bit of them. Make sure you guys check out those deep dives on the other teams we've done, most recently the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Pelicans. But I'm going to be covering every team in this deep dive series. So hopefully you guys stick around on the channel, so make sure you guys subscribe. We could be covering your favorite team next if you're not a Kings fan, and if you are a Kings fan, stick around because we upload content similar to this quality every single day on the channel, and that is my commitment to you. I can promise you similar quality videos every day. At least I try to make them similar quality. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will catch you guys on the next one. Hope you guys subscribe, follow my socials, links are down in the description, primarily Twitter. Love you guys if you could follow that, subscribe to the channel, drop a like. Go Kings, rooting for you guys, definitely. I think this is a great off season, and you guys got so much better, and I'm just wishing you the best. Hopefully you can light the beam 50 times plus in the next season, hopefully some playoff beams as well. That's another thing I think they could accomplish. I'll see you guys tomorrow in the video there, so I'll catch you guys then. Hopefully guys stay active on the channel, man. We're gonna be posting every day. Great things coming, maybe another deep dive tomorrow, who knows, I don't know. I'll see you guys later. See you guys tomorrow. This is your boy D Haven, as always. Peace.